All right, guys, so welcome back to True School Sports, the home of boxing on YouTube, the home of Japanese boxing in America, and definitely, I would say, the home of the Peso Pluma division, the featherweight division, because if there's one weight class that I know inside and out from 1 to 15 to the champions to the prospects, it is the featherweight division. So, welcome back to the home of the featherweight division. Now, speaking of the featherweight division, I was recently out in Cleveland for the Abdullah Mason Arabella fight. Really enjoyed it. Shout out to everybody in Cleveland that made my time there very, very amazing and unforgettable. Great crowd. But on the undercard of that fight, of that show, you had Bruce Carrington defend the belt against Rene Palacios. He won the fight, but not without, some nervy moments. There was a knockdown that a lot of people thought should have been called. He was also doubled over from a body shot that he got hurt by. But, he won the fight. Palacio started off very, very slow. Maybe if he would have started earlier, it could have been a different story. But nonetheless, Bruce Carrington wins the fight, and he successfully defends the WBC title for the first time. But it wasn't the kind of performance that you would say drives his stock up or enhances his reputation. If anything, it would give all the champions that much more confidence than they probably already had in fighting Bruce Carrington, right? But Ring Magazine, I gotta wag my finger at Ring Magazine because they updated the rankings, and I do not agree with the updated rankings, not one bit, not one iota, and I do think there is some bias in these rankings. Now, people are gonna say, BT, you're being biased. We know that Angelo is your friend, and this, that, and the third. And you know what? If you want to say that, fair play to you. You can say that because I mean there is gonna be some truth to that. However, there's certain things that can't be disputed and that can't be refuted when it comes to Angelo Leo and Bruce Carrington. And I hope one day they can fight each other very soon because I'm to the point, I'm just like you guys. I want the featherweights to unify. I know all the champions are to that point where they're getting sick of it. They want to unify, but it's not up to them. It's the people, it's the suits behind the screen. It's the suits behind the sport of boxing that are holding these fights up, and I want you guys to know that. But Ring Magazine recently updated their rankings, right? And they bumped up. Well, actually, before I even get into that, it's worth noting that Ring Magazine's featherweight rankings shouldn't even be taken that serious, but I do take them serious because Ring Magazine is a big publication, and they control a lot of the perception and a lot of the narratives and how a lot of fighters are perceived to the casual and sometimes hardcore boxing fans. So they are important in that respect, in that regard. But you look at the rankings, they still have Stephen Fulton ranked as a featherweight at number 4. Stephen Fulton hasn't fought at featherweight since, his fight against Brandon Figueroa. He has not fought as a featherweight since Brandon Figueroa, and that was back in, I believe, early 2025. Last fight was against Oshaki Foster in late 2025. He blew weight there. At the time he's shooting this, it's July 22nd. He's fighting in a WBA 130-pound super featherweight eliminator this weekend against Liam Wilson. So he's not a featherweight. Why is he in the rankings, right? So let's establish that. But then they bump Bruce Carrington above Angelo Leo, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. With all due respect to Bruce, he has proven what I thought he would be in the pros, which is a world champion. So congratulations to him. I said from the beginning that I thought he would be a world champion. Pound for pound fighter, dominant fighter, that remains to be seen. I think there's a lot of things in this game he needs to really tighten up on. And he can do, and he can prove that he is those things if he beats an Angelo Leo or an Espinoza or things like that. But you can't put him above an Angelo Leo. And I'm going to tell you guys why. Now, the Palacios fight wasn't his first, underwhelming performance. The Sulu Matsagawa fight was a fight where a lot of people thought he lost, and lost clearly, and got very fortunate to get a decision there. It was such a one-sided fight that Top Ranks never even uploaded the highlights. So if your own promoter doesn't upload the highlights, how can you say you already know what it is if they're not going to upload your own highlights to your fight and you the A-side fighter? They've uploaded everything else Bruce has done except that damn fight. So that will tell you everything right there. He won the title, and credit to him, he beat a good fighter to win the title. Carlos Castro's a good fighter. I'm not going to take anything away from Castro, but let's just call facts for what they are. Carlos Castro, in the fights that have counted at the world championship level, always found a way to lose. Brandon Figueroa stopped him years ago. What was it, 2022? he fought Stephen Fulton in 2024. He dropped Fulton and gave a good account of himself, but still found a way to lose because he couldn't make the proper adjustments. Lost that fight, and he was always just one of those guys that competed. He knew how to compete at the world class championship level, but he never knew how to win at the world class level. And Bruce, even in that fight, he got hurt in that fight, and yes, he got a great knockout. I give him his credit, but Bruce Carrington is the only champion in this weight class that didn't beat another champion. Rafael Espinoza beat Robeisy Ramirez. Brandon Figueroa beat Nick Ball. Angelo Leo knocked out Venado Lopez, who at the time, and let's pivot into that for a second. He knocked out Venado Lopez, who at the time they fought was the longest reigning champion of the division, had 3 title defenses. He went into that fight as a 4-1 underdog and laid him out and effectively ended his career. So he beat one of the top guys in the division, arguably the top guy in the division. So that right there, I think, gives Angelo standing over Bruce Carrington. And look, I talked to Bruce. I like Bruce. I have nothing against him or his dad or his family or anything like that. I like Bruce. I think he's a great ambassador for American boxing. I'm not trying to put him down. I'm just talking boxing. I asked Bruce about why the Venado Lopez fight didn't happen because from the reports that we heard in the media and from what I've heard from his management and things like that, that fight was a fight that could have happened. He chose to fight Palacios, which I won't fault him for because Palacios was an undefeated, young, hungry fighter. Good fight. Can't hate on it for your first title defense. But, Venado Lopez brings a lot of credibility to the table. He could have fought him, and he didn't fight him, right? So my thing is, Venado Lopez would have been the most accomplished fighter he would have fought in his career, and he chose not to fight him, right? Or the fight didn't happen for whatever the case may be. He says that they sparred and he knows what happened, but sparring and fighting is 2 different things. So who knows? Who knows what would have happened if they would have fought? Same thing with Espinoza. He could have fought Venado. He chose, he found a way not to fight him too. So my thing is, Angelo beat one of the top guys in this division. Okay, knocked him out. Effectively, to this point, has ended his career. He hasn't been in a significant fight in almost 2 years. And there is something to be said about that. You can't put Bruce Carrington for beating a non-world champion for a vacant belt over Angelo Leo and then looking really bad in his first defense. At least when Angelo had his first defense against, what's his name? Kameda. Kameda's a former world champion, and he had to go to a whole other country to beat him, right? So I just think when you look at the body of work from Eduardo Baez to Venado Lopez to Kameda, that supersedes what Bruce Carrington has done in the division. And even, look at Raif Salim. I know Angelo didn't fight Raif Salim, and that wasn't his fault. Raif Salim blew the weight, right? He blew the weight, and the fight didn't happen. But he signed to fight Raif Salim, something that none of these guys tried to do. And from my understanding, Raif Salim was trying to fight Espinoza and Bruce Carrington. Those were all fights that were there for him, that he tried to explore. And the only guy that really gave him an opportunity, that signed the contract, that put pen to paper and showed that he was a true champion was Angelo Leo. So there's something to be said about that. And for that reason, I don't think you could really put you can't put Bruce above him. Angelo, if you look at the Ring Magazine top 10 rankings, Angelo signed to fight Raif Salim. He's Ring Magazine number 8. He fought Stephen Fulton at a lower weight class. Yes, he lost to him, but he fought him, right? Okay. He knocked out Venado Lopez, who at one point was the number 1 guy in this weight class, right? He was definitely in the top 10 when Angelo fought him. And, he's shown the most ambition of anybody in this weight class, judging by actions, not talking to media, not what Ring Magazine wants to tell you guys, because, Ring Magazine likes to propagate certain fighters that are Ring Magazine ambassadors, right? I'm talking about actual actions, things we can prove. We know he fought Venado Lopez. We know he fought Stephen Fulton before. Yes, he lost to him, but still, he fought him. He fought. He signed to fight Raif Salim. He fought Kameda, who was a former world champion. So my thing is, with the body of work he has and what he's shown you guys, what he's about, you can't put Bruce Carrington above him right now. Leo, of course, they got to fight. Bruce Carrington could beat Angelo Leo and vice versa. Angelo could beat Bruce Carrington. I want to see the fight. I'm not saying that, his resume this and that automatically means he's going to beat Bruce. No, I want to see all these fights featherweight, but I'm just saying, Ring Magazine's being disrespectful to Angelo Leo because Bruce Carrington's body of work is not better than Angelo Leo's in the featherweight division. And Ring Magazine can't even get Angelo Leo's reach right because on BoxRec, Angelo Leo's reach is listed at a 68 and a half inch reach. That's his reach. But on Ring Magazine, they got him as at a 62-inch reach, which means they can't even get the reach right about him, which means they don't know shit about him, which means they don't care about him, which means they're trying to put him down and disrespect him. And I'm going to leave it at that. So Bruce Carrington, he's a world champion. It's great to have a guy that's so talkative and markets himself well and speaks properly. And I like Bruce. I think he's good for boxing. I think he's good for American boxing. I think he's amazing for the featherweight division. But he is not. He does not deserve to be above Angelo Leo. As the second best featherweight in the world. And I would love to see them both fight at some point. But those are my thoughts, and I'll leave it at that.